Cambodia, a perspective based on the history and the Buddhist foundations of the country. No tree can survive when cut from its roots, but the roots which sustain the tree may destroy the foundation of all structures in their path. It is this which must be remembered when the seeds are sown. Cambodia is a country that has been plagued by a very difficult past. The buildings, the people, and the religious foundations have been shaken in recent years. Like the rest of Southeast Asia, Cambodia has strong roots with Theravada Buddhism. This thought tradition has functioned as much more than a religion to the Cambodian people. It has also been the basis of their culture and their lifestyle. However, Cambodia's recent history has wiped out the Buddhist foundations, and the people are struggling to regain their footing in a country that has been devastated by warfare. The country is currently attempting to rebuild from total destruction. It is only through an understanding of Cambodia's past that one can have an appreciation for the current conditions in the country. The region known as Southeast Asia is a geographical area that encompasses several small countries. This area includes Burma, Brunei, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Laos, and Cambodia. The majority religion practiced in the greater part of each of these countries is Theravada Buddhism. For example, in Thailand and Cambodia, 94 and 95% of the population practice Theravada Buddhism respectively. In several of these countries, Buddhism has become incorporated with folk beliefs and defines the country's culture. In Thailand, Buddhism has become incorporated with practices such as ancestor worship and also with practices from Thai Chinese religions. Cambodia is approximately the size of the state of Oklahoma and is bordered by Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam. The population as of July 2006 was estimated to be approximately 14 million, while the population of Oklahoma was approximately 3.6 million by comparison. 90% of Cambodians identify as Kaymer, an ethnic group that is comprised of the descendants of the ancient Kaymer Empire that was established around the 5th century AD. 95% of the population speaks the Kaymer language. Although it has gone through many changes in the past couple decades, the current government ruling Cambodia is a multi-party democracy under a constitutional monarchy. The economy of Cambodia is run mainly through tourism, rice milling, mining, garment, and textile industries. The history of what is now Cambodia began with an Indian influence in the region around the 2nd century. By the 5th century, the Kaymer influence was also present, which can now be seen in the form of Kaymer stone inscriptions. The Indian influence on religion included both Buddhist and Brahminist practices. Indians who frequently traveled to the area traded with and collected goods from the locals. In addition to bringing products, the travelers brought their culture, philosophy, and religion with them to Cambodia. Cambodian locals came to accept the Hindu gods Shiva and Vishnu, as well as the caste system. The Indians taught the locals advanced practices, such as how to maintain irrigation systems and how to make stone carvings. The Indian religious practices were closely associated with statecraft. Generating spiritual power was politically beneficial to rulers, which in turn allowed rulers to gain greater power as military and government officials. The majority of the Indian influence ended after the collapse of the Roman Empire in the 5th century. The next major influence on Cambodia was the Kaymer Empire, which was established in the year 802 and lasted until 1431. This time period is known as the Angkor period. The Kaymer people built a series of temples in the capital area known as Angkor. It is from this period that the people of Cambodia derived their Kaymer identities. The establishment of the Angkor Empire was successful for 3 primary reasons. First of all, due to a history of Indian influence, the doctrine of Deva Raja, or God King, was adopted, which allowed monarchs to rule with absolute political and religious power. Jayavarman II was the first to declare himself a Deva Raja. This event marked the birth of the Angkor Empire. The Deva Raja is an old Hindu concept, which praises the ruler as the reincarnation of the god Shiva. Jayavarman II carefully considered the location as the center of his empire, which was the second reason for its success. The location in which the Angkor civilization was situated provided protection from the attacks of dangerous enemies. Angkor was carefully positioned at the north end of a lake, which was surrounded by heavy forests on all sides. This allowed only one entry point for invaders, traversing the Mekong River upstream. The final reason that the Angkor establishment was very successful was because of the Kaymer's ability to control water in their environment. This geographical area was very prone to floods and droughts, so mastering irrigation systems was crucial to having a highly productive economy. Kaymer society was fairly stratified. Society was headed by the ruler, followed by his tutors and the royal family, priests, presents, and finally the slaves. Two types of slaves existed: temple servants who were slaves to God, and slaves who were captives from other countries, or those who had broken Kaymer societal codes. The Kaymer people accepted Hinduism and Mahayana Buddhism, but Hinduism was more celebrated during this era. The majority of the monuments that were constructed praised the gods Shiva or Vishnu. These temples were built with everlasting stone to serve the gods for eternity, and they served ritual and political purposes. Angkor Wat was the center of Kaymer civilization, and its ruins today remain at the north end of the Great Lake of Tonle Sap. Theravada Buddhism was introduced in the 13th century from Sri Lanka. Buddhist temples that were erected were built with inexpensive materials, emphasizing the Buddhist concept of impermanence. Slowly, Cambodia came to be dominated by Siam and Vietnam. Partly due to their invasions, the capital of Cambodia moved to Phnom Penh. In addition to the weakening of the empire due to the invasions, the Theravada Buddhist ideas also weakened the Hindu concepts upon which Angkor civilization was based. Theravada Buddhism stressed seeking self-enlightenment and that people should abandon worldly things. The practice of worshipping Hindu gods weakened, and in turn, the idea of a Deva Raja also weakened. In addition to the challenge of the notion of a Deva Raja, there were other factors that led to the collapse of the Angkor Empire. Less support in the Deva Raja from the Kaymers led to a reduction in the work ethic of the Kaymers, which caused a reduction in the efficiency of the irrigation system. This, along with threats from neighboring empires that distracted the Kaymers' attention from maintaining their own civilization, led to a great weakening of the empire. In 1431, the Thai army seized the city of Angkor, and the Angkor Empire was brought to an end. The city was later abandoned at an unknown date. Historical accounts are very sparse during the time period between the mid-1400s and the mid-1800s. Thus, this period is commonly referred to as the Dark Period of Angkor. The next major stage in Cambodian history began in 1861 when the French botanist Henri Mulot rediscovered the ruins of Angkor. His published findings attracted the interest of historians, archaeologists, and explorers who desired to learn more about the ancient Kaymer civilization. The King of Cambodia invited France to impose a protectorate over Cambodia to protect it from further weakening by Thailand and Vietnam. After Cambodia became a French colony, the French set up a center to study archaeology of the Kaymer civilization and to restore the Kaymer temples. Although the Cambodian monarchy was left in place and the French administration was indirect, France still had the final rule on all Cambodian decisions. Roads and cities, such as Phnom Penh, were developed and other public amenities were also built. Rubber plantations were developed and the rice industry was expanded. Because the French restored Angkor Wat, deciphered some of the ancient language used in the temples, and did not disturb the Cambodian government or religious foundations, their presence was not despised by the Cambodian people. During World War II, Japanese invaders removed the French administration from its rule over several Southeast Asian countries. An independent government was then set up under King Norodom Sihanouk. 1 year later, France reimposed their administration while allowing Cambodians to draft their own constitution. However, the French rule was hated in many countries, and in 1946, the First Indochina War broke out, fighting for independence from France. Cambodian Communist guerrilla forces allied with the Communist Vietnamese and gained control of Cambodia. However, in 1953, King Sihanouk was able to bargain with the Communist forces to win temporary peace for the country. The peace did not last long. Sihanouk attempted to delicately balance threats on Cambodia from the Vietnamese Americans and the Kaymer Rouge, but his efforts failed. Sihanouk's people viewed him negatively because of his autocratic style of leadership